Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. I'm Spiritual Coach Lisa Hop. It is Sunday, July 5th, 2020. If you're new, welcome. Please check out my website at lisahop.com. That's LISAHOPP.com. And for all of my listeners coming back, thank you so much. Thank you for your support, your feedback, your thumbs up. I appreciate it so very much, more than you can know. I got some exciting news this week. I got notification in my email box that Spotify was going to be on Comcast Xfinity, and I have Comcast, so I immediately went on there and wondered, is my podcast going to be on my TV screen? Well, lo and behold, it was, and that's pretty cool. If I wanted to, if I were drawn to, I could listen to my podcast while I'm dusting or something. But I love the fact that it's an extra avenue for all of you. So if you are a Spotify customer and aren't listening to it in your car or wherever you happen to listen to and want an extra way to listen, well, you can put it right on your TV. So I think that's pretty cool. So this weekend is July 4th weekend. And I hope all of you in America had a very good July 4th, very safe one yesterday. I didn't miss out on any fireworks. I had them to the front, the back, the left, the right. I was running around my house from window to window, popping out outside every once in a while, so I didn't miss any. And I have to say they were kind of professional. So hopefully everyone who was setting them off stayed safe. And it was great. It was great. You know, I'm been okay with this shutdown that we've gone through here. As my listeners know, if you've been here from the beginning, my work and I live in the New Jersey area. And so we were affected very much by being quarantined for a few months. Just a little while ago, we just are starting to pop out of it a bit, though hopefully very cautiously. And I kind of now, yes, it did affect me in ways that were challenging, but I've enjoyed the virtual life. I enjoyed having access to church masses, as I've said before on my podcast. I've enjoyed the fireworks accessibility. I've more than ever before. I've enjoyed virtual meetings with my friends. There's been aspects of this time that I'm gonna miss a bit when they go away, and I hope maybe there's been some startups to practices that won't go away, because I think this time those of us who have chosen to have gotten through it quite well, have gotten through it and made special times during this time that and have brought each other closer to each other in a way that wouldn't have happened if we weren't forced to. So I hope in some ways some of the things continue. You know, before shut-ins, if they wanted to attend Mass, they had one chance on a Sunday morning. But now, thanks to the wonder that is YouTube and Facebook Live and not being able to gather in person entirely for many weeks, they now have daily stations and meditations and rosaries and masses, and so it, in many ways, this time has been a very good thing. Now, I read yesterday, someone wrote that was really getting on people's nerves, or his nerves, that people were finding the blessings in the COVID time. And, well, I kept myself very quiet. I didn't respond because I have seen blessings. I have, and I do that. I naturally do that. As a spiritual person, when something happens, I have to grab onto, especially if it's something horrible or a loss in any way, I have to grab onto what's a blessing. I have to do it in order to be able to get through it, because I grieve just like anybody else. Life can knock me down just like anybody else. And so I always go right there. I always go to, what can I learn from this? What did they mean to my life? And so I try to find gratitude in it in some way. And it helps. It tremendously helps. I recommend it highly. So today's topic comes to you through the inspiration of this Independence Day weekend. And this time that we're going through, and this time we have been going through, but perhaps because a lot of us have been locked down, most of us in this world have had to deal with limitations. Maybe you, like me, have been wondering about what our ancestors, or here in America, what our founding fathers would think of this time, would think of our government, and how we're handling a pandemic, or walls, or immigrants. Though the founding fathers were all immigrants. I've been really sitting here for a long time pondering if they were to come down back to earth, what would they say to all of us? Now, realistically, I know, or I think, that if they were to come back, probably a lot of us wouldn't want to listen to them. We'd debate them or shout over them. But I still want to know. I still wanted to know. So thanks to the wonder of education, I've been learning a lot more about them. I got on a bit of a binge about Thomas Jefferson, and now I'm about to enter a new binge about James Madison. For those who are not in America or haven't learned this yet, Thomas Jefferson was not only a founding father, he was a governor of Virginia. He was the third president of these United States. James Madison was the father of our Constitution because he wrote most of it, though everything has always gone to committees with the Declaration and the Constitution, but he also was the fourth president of these United States. And rumor has it that his wife Dolly was quite the first lady. She was beloved. She even played a bit of a first lady to Thomas Jefferson because his wife had passed before he became president. But I don't want to go on and on about history. That's not why you guys tuned in. But I've been learning about them, and I've been learning about their contradictions, their flaws, which is the title of this podcast. You, perfect imperfections. Because just like the founding fathers, who had their sides, you have yours as well. We all are imperfect. All of us are flawed. And the founding fathers, it depends on who you talk to. Some will say, for instance, that Thomas Jefferson had a very dark side, a very monstrous side. The man that was the slave owner, the man that history is finding had a relationship with one of his slaves that bore children when she was very young. Started when she was very young, a child. And so that would make him a monster. And then there was that part of him that was the great writer, that was the great statesman, that wrote the Declaration of Independence, that actually wanted to, more than once in his life, abolish slavery, introduced it into the Declaration, introduced it into Virginia before that, or even perhaps after that. He was a man of many imperfections and contradictions. I'm not here on this podcast to defend him. He was, in many ways, of his time and of what was handed to him. And that is not in any way an excuse for him. But I don't know how much of a monster he was. I haven't dived in yet that much. Or if he was one at all is what I'm saying. Or perhaps he was just a man of his own season. You know, there are some that are vegan that would say that those who love to hunt are monstrous. You know, we all have our inner selves. We all have our own experiences, our lives we all have our places where we live, where we come from, that define who we are. And many people just live that life. They may have, like Jefferson, moments of illumination that say, these people aren't property, they're people. But it doesn't mean that we always have the courage to step out of what we know, whispering money, 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 and do what our soul compels us to do. And though I am in no way saying that you, intrepid listeners, are that imperfect, that you would be capable of owning people as property or mistreating them or abusing them, raping them. I am not saying that about you. What I am saying about all of us is that we come from a background. We come from what we've learned. We come from the society around us. We come from the people that are in our bubble. And we come from an ego. We come from that head of ours and that heart of ours that will throw doubts at us, will throw our own teachings at us that were taught to us, whether our soul and our spirit truly, truly connects. So we are all imperfect in our perfection. And why do I say our perfection? Because there is a great spiritual source from which you are created. Some would call that God, Allah. Some would call it universe, source. Some would call it heaven. Some would call its various names. Yahweh. That source created you and I in its divine image and looks upon us, all the representatives of that energy, all of the angels, all the spirit guides, all the ascended masters, such as Jesus and Moses and Buddha. They look upon you with a big smile and an unconditional love as a being of perfection. That amazing contradiction. You through your ego and me through my ego. Or I through my ego. What's the grammar? We know we are imperfect. We try. If we think we're perfect, then That's probably our ego talking. We know we're imperfect, but we are not looked upon it that way. In my spiritual experiences, I have experienced that firsthand. The experience of being looked upon as if I'm adored, I'm perfect, I'm loved, with mercy, adoration, kindness. But knowing and asking, what? Did I do something wrong? Knowing I am that imperfect human. We came to this life to learn and to grow and expand, to truly play the game of life. And playing the game of life with an ego, with senses, with the ability to feel pain, the ability to feel confusion, the ability to get angry, the ability to feel the sun, to feel the heat, to feel the cold, the ability to need love, the ability to feel lonely, to feel wanting, to feel lacking. We all come with that. In heaven, we feel none of that. We only feel surrounded by security and love and peace. And we are joined there. We are surrounded by our loved ones. In every way, the angels, our departed loved ones that were our friends and our family and our enemies. And we are surrounded by our teachers. We are surrounded by that wondrous energy in heaven. But here on earth, we are dropped off like an alien into an alien earth where we have to figure out how to be perfect, how to be loving, how to be spiritual in this boot camp that is earth. Thomas Jefferson said education was the most important thing. It was so important to be informed. And education is, I agree. Because in education, in every way, and I don't mean formal education, though he had it, and many people do. I mean the education of reading and of experiencing and being curious. That's why we're here. We're here to experience the living history and education of Earth. One of my greatest fantasies, I should have done it. I guess there's time. Maybe I'll do it in retirement. When I was younger, when I was in my senior year of high school, my class went on a senior trip and I was very lucky to go. However, we weren't allowed to go to Florida. Because usually senior trips, well, some in the South branch out, don't they? They go to Aruba or someplace else, but most senior trips go to Disney World or Universal Studios, Orlando. But my senior trip could not go, my senior class, because of the misbehaviors of the class before us. And so we had to accept a shorter journey by bus rather than plane to go to Waynesburg, Virginia. And I don't think, I really don't know, but it was still a trip. And we still got to go to amusement park and two amusement parks, and we still got to, be encouraged to have fun. And I suppose we could have learned in Disney World if we had visited the Hall of Presidents and such, but it was a bit mixed with education. And I remember not all my classmates wanted to focus on being educated during the trip. They were probably the ones most missing Florida, but I adored being there. I loved it. And I just sucked it up. These people, these interpreters, as they like to call them, that were dressed up and trying to teach us, giving us speeches, and the whole actual living history, the buildings, the horse and carriage, the band playing. It was all as if we had been transported to the 1700s. And I just sucked it up. I loved it so much that I went back the next year all by myself. Or within the next couple of years. I might have gone back with somebody else before that. But I went back quite frequently. And I always thought I would love to be an interpreter. I used to have daydreams about being an interpreter. And I have up until recently. And I don't know why I just didn't ever do that, because I think I would have fit in nicely. And many people, younger people are interpreting there now also, but retirees go, so who knows? Who knows? Maybe I will put that on my bucket list. It is something that you have to take very seriously, though. I don't say it lightly, but I think it would be really something to transport myself into another lifetime and be able to play a part. So I bring this up. And excuse me for my cough. It is Sunday morning. Is that I've always been just really loving the thought of being able to put myself in that reality and to learn from it. And that is very much why we're here on earth. And that is an opportunity to live in the 18th century and to learn from the tradesmen and the gentries and politics, and to learn what it was like to be a lawyer and such. And so it was its own life experience. And Colonial Williamsburg, not to try to give you a commercial here, is very much the opportunity to go back there into the 18th century and learn and decide who would I have been, and how can my senses feel about this, and how can I grow and expand. But life itself is very much meant to be this way. We are here in the 21st century. And I wondered to myself if at some point that someone won't want to go back to the 21st century and say, let's have a living museum to that, so we can experience those times again. Can you imagine somebody, people, good listeners, can you imagine someone saying at some point, I do want to go back to 2020. I do want to try to experience what they experience, while we know what we are experiencing right now and all of its challenges. But to those in history, to those to our future, this will be an amazing time, because they'll be able to look at it and experience it from a perspective of time and learning and lessons. So it's very important to understand that you are here as a perfect being of a perfect source that created you and sees you that way, sees right into your light. Because while you have all these imperfections of your feelings and your mind and your thoughts of limitation, which are not true, you are very unlimited. While you're going through all of that, this source looks upon you as only the light that you have within, that perfect little ball of energy that lives on forever. You live on forever. And so, better put, you came here with a shell, with a vehicle. And that vehicle has all kinds of senses and all kinds of programming and triggers that go off like flares and force you to learn, force you to grow. You might call them obstacles. You might just call them your personality and who you are. But whatever you call them, they were given to you divinely as a blueprint to come here and learn to become a more expanded, creative, larger version of yourself. But that inner light, no matter what you do, feel, believe, is always perfect. And that source that you probably love, if you're listening, that God, that heaven, those departed loved ones, they don't look upon you for the vehicle that you drive around this earth. They look upon you and look as the light that's within you. They go straight within. And so you can't really screw that up. You can't. No matter how hard at times we all may try. So when you have a moment, when you have a snarky moment, when you have a mean moment, when you have a moment when you care about no one but you, they do not see that moment. They see it very, very much like observing a movie or a TV show, but they don't see it. They don't define you by it. They define you by that inner light inside, which is your soul and your spiritual self. So that is why, that is how that energy can love all of us. Because you may say to yourself in a very human moment, there is no way that a God would like him or like her. Because they're just not nice people. Or they're people that have harmed people. But I would say to you that you cannot say that. Because if that soul, no matter who they are, goes to heaven or passes, we all pass. When they pass, if that light can just shine a little bit and say, I have remorse, forgive me. I feel love in some way, even if it is just for my animal, if I feel love in some way, then that person is welcomed open arms into heaven too. Because they are loved too, equally to you and I. And also, quite frankly, no matter what a person may do here on earth, if they have a light within, they are loved equally. They are seen as perfect. Now, there is evil in this world. But don't assume you know all who is evil, because sometimes they just have troubled minds. Perhaps what I cannot find better words to say, a mental illness. Not everyone who harms others is evil. Not everyone who does evil acts is evil. Evil would be missing that light within. But the wonderful thing is that I have learned is that that source, that heaven, that God, never stops working for that light to be illuminated again, to be lit up again. Evil is sometimes created to show us that yin, that yang, love and hate, the polar opposite. But not all evil is meant to be evil forever. Some can be redeemed. And heaven knows that. So they can never really give up on any of us. No matter who we are and what we do. And I like that. Don't you like that? That unconditional love. It's unconditional. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you treat another, you are unconditionally loved. No matter how lonely you feel, no matter how much you wish you had a relationship on earth that you don't have, you are unconditionally loved. But, all caps, there is karma. There is, what we like to know as karma. There are consequences to our actions. You're not scot-free. What you put out, you do get back. But it doesn't change that you are perfect in the eyes of this Creator, and you are unconditionally loved. And I love that security. I love knowing that no matter what kind of day I have, no matter how much I fail myself, someone's looking upon me with great love. Something is a being, a departed loved one. They're looking upon me with great love that cannot be thwarted no matter what, cannot be taken away no matter what. It's mine. It is mine like a right of my soul's creation. And you have that same right as well on this July 4th weekend. You have the right. You have earned it by your very creation to have that unconditional love. It is yours. I compel you to walk around this earth with your shoulders raised, knowing it, and treating others as if they have it too. Treat them as you have it and treat them as they have it. We are all citizens of not only this earth, but of that source, that universe that created us. We are all one. And all that we're going through, all of the challenges, all the obstacles, all the lessons, all the chaos, all the tumultuousness, that is here so that we can embrace change and evolve. I've learned enough about Thomas Jefferson, clearing throat, excuse me, that he believed in this government here in America, that it should change, as we evolve. He knew that things that he believed or would have believed in 1781, for instance, maybe new science would come out to change it. He believed and knew of his flaws. He knew he was a contradiction. He knew he had demons. He knew he had angel in him. And he knew that our government and our country and our world were as good as we are. And the better that we become, the better our government would have to be. It would have to change with us, so that the Constitution, the government, was never to be stagnant. These times, with all, some do not like the destruction, and I don't like it either. I don't like violence, graffiti, unkindness. However, it is part of the plan to get us to that higher energy on this earth, that energy of heaven coming to earth, or some refer to it 5-dimensional energy. It is on a more base earthly level a necessity to make our country greater. And so think about that when you name call, if you do, when you say you don't like something, because there's many names being bandied about, not all of them rightfully given. These people are agents to change, and you change with them, whether you knock down a statue, whether you protest, whether you post on Facebook. You are changing with them, and you're going at your own pace. So you may not be to that place where you can see the change and want the change, but you'll catch up. You'll catch up because you're on this earth for a purpose, to be a part of this shared experience of evolving this earth into a greater place. And entangled within that is evolving our government and our laws and uplifting our people to a place where not only do we know that we're all one, but we're treating each other like it. And that's all that's going on, is that we're trying to uplift those who have been put asunder for centuries, lifting them up so that we're all at the same height. Not one height greater than another or taller than another. That we're all the same. Because we are. We're all one. And so that's all that's going on. But we are doing it imperfectly. But remember, if the founding fathers were here today and they were telling us what they believe, what they feel, what their intentions were, there would be people name calling them. There would be people that would not want to listen. And there would be other people embracing them like gods. It works the same for any being or any previous leader. I tell you quite honestly and directly that if Jesus himself were to land on this earth, many of those who speak his name daily and push their interpretation of him daily would deny him. We are all where we are in our imperfect selves. But the wonderful thing is, there is that light within that is perfect. And that light within, in these times that we are going through, is meant to grow and grow and grow and grow until it encompasses your whole self. And that which was more imperfect in actions and thoughts and words becomes more and more like the soul, more and more perfect. You're a work in progress towards that, as I'm a work in progress towards that. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that magnificent? So how do you help this along, perfect being? So that your inner perfect self is running the show. That your physical self is aligning with your perfect self. How do you speed it along? You be kind to others. You be understanding. Be kind. Feel gratitude. Try to understand another's story. It is not your own. It is not your heritage, perhaps. It is not your experience. But can you hear another? And try to understand that they feel the way they feel. And that doesn't make them wrong, necessarily. It is just their story. Smile. Open doors for others. Wear your mask. That is a great divine way of shining that illuminated perfect self out into this world. Do not talk behind another's back as much as possible. We all have moments when we need to get an opinion about what to do for another, or how to feel about another. But what I mean is, don't talk stabbing behind someone's back. Don't stab them. It's all right to seek advice, but don't stab. Honor your mother and father in some way, even if they are not in your life. Honor that they gave birth to you. Honor their memory. Honor the blessing that you're here. Honor them as you would want to be honored as a parent. Little acts of kindness, little acts of generosity, charity. Standing up for your fellow man instead of tearing him down. Speaking positively. And we all have moments, but more. Doing it more. Watching it more. And loving yourself for all the imperfections, all the supposed limitations that you think you have. Loving yourself unconditionally. That is the way to help it along. That's the way. Will you join me in doing that on this glorious July 5th Sunday? We are in the process of bringing forward another world to us. And it's very much a start. I am told to say, be the change you want to see. If you want peace, be peace. If you want love, be love. If you want happiness, be happiness. then your world will show it to you. And remember always your inner perfect light, and that there is an energy that has beings within it and part loved ones within it that only see that part of you. And that is a great gift. Unconditional love. The eyes of a parent that is perfect, and how they look at their child. Perfection. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Sunday. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please like, subscribe, and share. Please check out my website, lisahopp.com. It's lisahopp.com. For all my services, there are no current upcoming events, but there will be, so check it out for that. Join the newsletter. Follow me on my Facebook business page under Spiritual Coach Lisa Hopp, and enjoy life. You deserve it. Thank you again. Many blessings.